Dean Curry here, Fantasy Football, RSVP. So let's get right to it with Week 2, AAF, the Alliance of American Football. What a fantastic week we had last week. Good football finally in a new professional league. I love it. And I really feel strong about this second week, and I believe this league is going to be a formidable league, and we are going to have football in the spring. So let's get right to it with Week 2 of the AAF waiver wire. I like it running back. I always start with running back. I like certain teams that I think you got to have a part of their offense, especially when you talk about the Apollo offense with Steve Spurrier. I've been saying this all week long, all winter. Watch out for the Spurrier defense. Anyone that watched the Gator defense, the Florida Gator defense with Spurrier, it was the first run and shoot offense. I mean, the pass and shoot offense that you've ever seen in college football. The guy was revolutionary. And I wasn't even a Florida Gator fan, but I would watch Florida Gator games because they were exciting. This guy was throwing the ball all over the place. And watching his offense the other day, put up 40 points, and a trick play, the Philly special, with Jalen Marshall. And it just, it reminded me of what it's like to be part of a Spurrier offense. So I really like Akeem Hunt. He is a diverse, shifty back. Okay, hard to tackle. He makes nice cuts as a running back. He can catch the ball. He very formidable catching the ball, out of the backfield. I would really, really look into, Akeem Hunt. I think he's fantastic. I mean, I would name people like Trent Richardson and stuff like that, but those guys are not on the waiver wire. But Akeem Hunt, maybe. You might also find Jarrell Presley for Arizona. 18 carries, 64 yards. He had a catch for 30 yards. You gotta love teams that, you have a running back, and they were using him. They were heavily using him. And they're using a guy that, a lot in the offense. And the offense looked good. Arizona, very balanced offense. And they're going to use this guy, and he is tough to tackle. I mean, he just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger as the game went on. And I would definitely own a part of him. Someone you may have on your waiver wire might be Denard Robinson. He didn't quite get acclimated to the offense. That's why they didn't play him a lot. But former Jaguar, I mentioned him last week. I think he could catch the ball well out of the backfield and for the Atlanta Legends. And I think that he will eventually be showcased a lot more in that offense. It was just the first week. He's just getting there. They didn't have him acclimated to the offense. That's why you didn't see him. There were other guys that did well, like Zach Stacy and stuff, but they're sharing the ball, and that might be a problem with certain teams. That's why I like Jarrell Presley, because with Zach Stacy, they had three really good backs, and they were giving it, to all three different ones, and you got to be careful of that when you play fantasy football. So to wide receivers, there's a few I like. I like staying with the Apollo offense with Jalen Marshall, former quarterback. He threw a touchdown on the Philly special. It was rather nice. I would look into that. They also have another wide receiver on the team called Charles Johnson. He had 4 catches, 60 yards. He looked very formidable out there, moving around. We'd like to talk about, things here, differently and, at this company. And one of the things we like to talk about is game trends and psychology of the game. And it just looks like from a psychological standpoint that the Spurrier offense, the players, he's got 12 former Florida Gator players on the team, and the offense that he has in this league, the way he's opening it up, and it's going to get more and more, he may just be far advanced, as far as the other, not coaches. There's some good coaches in the AAF, but you don't have the diversity of players And the Apollos do, and that's why they won so well. You have so many people coming from so many different areas. When you get 12 Florida Gators that know a system, understand the system or style of football, and he did a great job coaching this team up. I mean, they just look better organized. It wasn't even like they looked like they were a better team. They just looked like better organized. If you watch the game, it looked like they were one step ahead of the defense on every play. And, there's only 10 games in the season before these other teams even catch up with new coaches, new league, new players, new standings, new stats, new everything. When you have a guy like Spurrier, that knows what he's doing and knows how to get guys in there quickly, it's definitely something that you want to, surely consider. And, another thing I want to talk about is, other than Orlando, those two people, if you watch the San Antonio Commanders, there was a guy, Greg Ward Jr. They also had another guy on the team, McKay, who, coming out, they were saying he was going to be like the number one guy. And he did good. Yeah, 5 catches, 50 or so yards. Look, McKay did. But, Greg Ward, he only had like 5 catches for 65. He could have had over 100. I mean, that guy, I was watching the game. He was absolutely everywhere. And he was open. And there were plays that they did, and they were showing, you could see he was just open. They missed a couple of long plays with him. And he has great route running ability. He's got great speed. He can go up and get it. He's lengthy, and he has breakaway speed. I mean, he could have had a few more catches that game, and it just seemed like he was open the whole game. I mean, this guy is tough to guard. And when you have another good receiver like McKay, and that's what we talk about here, the psychology of the game, when you have 2 receivers like that, and they actually even have a third receiver who wasn't bad, but when you have 2 receivers like that require so much attention in a new league, and you have a quarterback that's doing a decent job getting the ball out there, you got to take advantage of that. You have these guys on your team. They may put you out in front in your fantasy football league, and you'll be in the playoffs by week 4, 5, because these guys just carry you. So those are the, I did stick with the Commanders and Orlando. I do like those. I do like those 2 teams, and I think for fantasy football you have to focus more on the teams, than the players. And the coaches of those teams that I mentioned both looked so organized compared to the other teams. And before these other teams could catch up, you take a team like, the Commanders, who looked really well, and even Arizona looked very organized. Orlando. By the time these other teams catch up, you play some of these players, you're going to be doing very, very well in your league. As far as quarterbacks, sure, Orlando had a great quarterback, Gilbert. He's not available. So let's just talk about guys that may be available. Luis Perez may be available in your fantasy football league. Maybe he's not now, but on the waiver wire, because there was projected other quarterbacks to be quarterback of that team, and he's a keeper. This guy is special. 19 to 33 for 252, and he was throwing the ball all over the place, and they were saying, this guy got a late start at being a quarterback. He's a natural. This guy's just going to get better and better and better. I really, really like Luis Perez, and if he's not, available, you may want to look at Linehan. He came into the game. He's the former, Cardinal player. You might want to, look at, Linehan, because their quarterback actually got injured in the game and, has a hamstring injury. So I would definitely look at that. And Nelson, the quarterback that replaced Berkovici on the San Diego Fleet, I'd look at him, the backup, as well, because I think the Fleet are going to be formidable. I really do. Berkovici, he's flat-footed. The guy can't move, and the quarterback they have in there now, the backup, He actually moves really well, and he's more mobile, and that is going to bring me to my tight end. Because I think that Escobar will get more opportunities. He had a good week, 4 catches, 66 yards. But, I really feel that, Escobar was, they just couldn't get the ball out. And having a mobile quarterback, that's coming in there now, and, Mike Martz said, and, that Martz offense is going to wake up. And having a mobile quarterback is exactly what they need because their offensive line wasn't doing that great at protecting. Even though Berkovici is an immobile quarterback, I think that will open up more opportunity. A guy that can move around in the pocket, and find Escobar. I mean, he's a great target. The guy runs great routes, former NFL player. A lot of these guys are. But I really like, him a lot. And he's got great hands. He runs great routes. He's not easy to tackle either. Speaking of tight ends, there's another tight end caught me by surprise because it was Gerald Christian, Arizona. He played really, really well, Christian did, and he was open, and he was easy to find. And they have a few good tight ends on that team, Duarte and some other guys that I actually thought were going to be showcased more than Christian. But it looked like Christian was being showcased more than these guys, and he was open. He was open. He was missed a few times, too. And he's got great hands, touchdown. The guy was everywhere. He looked like Antonio Gates out there, like his size, He had hands like Witten. Like he's just like grabbing stuff out of the air, like it was nothing. A lot of us are learning, about these guys, and he's one guy to keep an eye on because he runs great routes, and he was open the whole game. As far as kickers, I mean, Arizona has a really balanced offense. Along with, the Apollos and some of the other teams I mentioned. But, go with like a good balanced offense like Arizona. Arizona has a good defense. They have a good offense. They looked really organized out there, like they knew what they were doing. I was very, very impressed. And they're going to get a lot of opportunities. They move the ball in the run. They move the ball in the field, through the field, in the air. And their defense is going to present a lot of opportunities for them. So I really like Nick Folk, former NFL player. We're saying that a lot. Experienced, very accurate kicker, decent power on his kick. And they're just going to get a lot of opportunities. And the kicking, actually, with all the teams, I must say, the kicking I was pleasantly surprised. But this is finally a league that is organized the right way, and they really have fantastic people on their board that are former players, former coaches. But the reason why I really feel it's going to work is a lot of the leagues, just from a psychology standpoint, we talk a lot about psychology here, a lot of the leagues in the past actually tried to compete with the NFL. And that's a losing formula. And if the XFL tries to do it, they're going to lose too. Okay? This was showcased in Alliance of American Football. It was showcased in alliance with the NFL as a complementary league, or not really per se a training league, but sort of. That's how they're showcasing themselves, that they give players the opportunity to play football, and then NFL players have another pool that they can pick from, and they trying to do a handshake, we're with you, we're going to work together. And it's being showcased as a developmental league for the NFL, which is great because, what happens is a lot of times, these players have been out of the league 1 or 2 years and they're still trying out for teams. But once they're out of the league 2 or 3 years, they're trying out for teams. They're dinosaurs. Even though they're only 25 or 26 years old, they're dinosaurs, because they haven't really played and they keep trying out. And and I'm not saying there aren't other leagues like the Arena League or the Canadian Football League, but a lot of players don't necessarily play in those leagues, and you don't see tons of players that promote themselves in the Arena League or even the Canadian Football League that this is a developmental league for the NFL. And for them to have taken that shot, which is a risk, because if you associate with the NFL and we're part of the NFL and you don't do things the right way, you're not really separating yourself from the NFL enough to promote your own cause, which may hurt viewership. But these guys were smart enough to say, why have other teams or leagues failed in the past? And the whole thing is, you don't go after the Jolly Green Giant NFL. What you do is say, we're going to, be part of it. And they tell them, you could take players from our league. It's not a big deal. And, those sort of things might change at some point. But if you talk to NFL coaches, a bunch of them, like Carroll, the Seattle Seahawks, he's like, this is a great idea. We're going to have another pool of people playing actual NFL football, not college football or not arena-style football, which isn't really conducive to the way things are done, with the rules, for judging. He's like, we're going to have another pool to pick from, and guys that aren't playing can actually play. And he's like, this will give us another perspective to get, guys that are ready, to play right now. And I've heard that echoed by many, many coaches. So I think it's a fantastic league. I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited to watch the games. I've been saying for the longest time, it's not a knock on the NFL. I'm a huge NFL fan, podcaster and all. But, I always feel the games are too slow. And to watch this game just move, and it's almost a 15-second difference in shot clock. They say it's 5 seconds. It's not. It's 5 seconds from the end of the play. In the NFL, the clock starts after the referee, plants the ball and marks the ball. In the AAF, as soon as the play's over, the clock's ticking. So it's like it's not, it says it's a 5 second difference. I couldn't even... I couldn't even leave and get a drink of water or something, because it was like the next play and the next play. And then, even after the touchdown, the 2-point conversion's like right after it. And it's just like the game was moving. There was less timeouts. The 2-point conversion is a great idea. Getting rid of the kicking. It's really... they really were smart the way they put this together. And I think it's going to force the NFL in a good way to make complementary, alterations to the league to make their league better. It's almost like having competition kind of makes, it keeps a team honest or a league honest. It makes the team realize they have to make changes because and there was great viewership across the board. So, I'm very excited about this league. I'm very excited to be podcasting on 10 radio stations, iTunes, and, Google Play Music and Spotify and everything like that. Also on my own radio station, 24-hour radio station for sports commentary and football, along with, because I own a sports management company, fitness advice, diet advice. During the evenings, we play electric, energetic exercise music going back from the 1980s, like old school disco, Motown, stuff that really makes you want to work out, and pop music. But, it's just sports related, and, it's a fantastic, it's great to be talking about the AAF. There's a lot of, people that do what I do, and they're still talking about the NFL, and I don't ever compare it because I listen to a lot of radio, a lot of shows, and I think everyone's fantastic. But, I'm asking questions like, why aren't you talking about the AAF, and talking about, the NFL still, it's the new football league. Sure, it's not easy. You got to get to know the players. I had to watch hundreds of videos and stuff. But, it'd be nice to listen to some of these other people, get perspective, and talk about it. I mean, I love doing it myself, but I love listening to people. And, once we could get the media, behind this league and the podcasters behind this league, and we could kind of all learn together, it's the coverage that keeps viewership in it, because people like to listen to podcasts, get information and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm Dean Curry. It was fantastic talking to you. Great podcast. Week 2 of the AAF. We'll be back next week for week 3. So have yourself a wonderful day.